Hello again, hope everyone's doing well. Today's video I just wanted to go through something that I think would cause a massive price shift in the AFL market, and I do see it happening in some ways and over the past couple of years, but if it really kicked off, then I think we'd see a huge shift and many people would be locked out of certain markets. So what I'm talking about is people with lots of money, say businessmen, thinking Clive Palmer, kind of Gina Reinhart kind of figures, Andrew Forrest, getting into the hobby if it becomes more popular. And if these kind of people come in, they will definitely be able to just completely wipe out a bunch of supply on the important cards of the hobby, or what I see as the important cards of the hobby. Not only this, there's also a bunch of people coming into the hobby from others that have seen a huge boom over the last 2-3 years, say the NBA market or the Pokemon market. Lots of these collectors have seen six-figure returns. I'm talking like tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on how much they were in for prior to the 2020 boom. So with these people having a lot of new money and a love for collecting, and say they're from Australia and they like AFL, it's very possible that they come into the AFL market. Now, if someone comes in with that kind of money, I think they'll be very surprised to see what the AFL market is priced like at the moment. Yes, some cards go for a lot of money and that's objective. Think Dustin Martin cards from each year. His best card of each year usually goes for thousands of dollars, and that's a lot of money no matter how you look at it from any hobby. But some of the more classic cards and the more forgotten cards are still extremely cheap. And the people coming in from other hobbies are generally people who will be knowledgeable and will look at the AFL hobby like they do others, which is experienced collectors generally like to buy rookies. So I've got a bit of an example here, the Chris Judd Gold DPS out of 225. Talked about it a bit on this channel already, but it only goes for about $250 and there's only 225 made. So if you do the math, that's just over 50 grand. And yes, 50 grand is a lot of money, but if you've just made $100,000 on Pokemon over the past 3 years, or you're a multi-million dollar businessman, then 50 grand is not even that much, especially if you could wipe out the whole market of the Chris Judd DPS. Now, obviously that's not going to happen because you're not going to be out, people aren't going to be willing to sell you all 225, but that's why I think the price shift might happen in that case, because you might get 5 or 10 or even 20 at that price between 250 and 350, but then once people realize that the market's constricting, then they're not going to want to get rid of them for a higher price, and they're going to be very hard to come across. So if someone comes in and just wipes the supply at the moment out of the market, I think organically the prices are going to shift up. People are going to realize that they may not see this card again for sale. It's going to get scarcer, so naturally the prices go up. And I think a comparison for the Judd in particular is something like Kobe. If you told an NBA collector that you could buy out Kobe's best rookie card, every single one of them, for about 50 grand, they'll call you crazy. Like, that's just ridiculous. And at some point, when you hear it like, oh, $250 a card, that sounds like a lot of money. But when you say it from a bulk buyers or a business perspective, and you can wipe out all of them for like 50 grand, all of a sudden it doesn't sound too ridiculous. Now, that's not something I can do, and that's not something most collectors can do. And that's the point. If someone comes in from the outside with lots of money, they could really, really change it up. And this would be both bad, obviously, if you're looking to get the cards and you don't have them at the moment, and this would also be good for the people who've already got the cards and put in the time and effort previously to identify what people might want in the future. Another example, a card I really like, and I've got 3 of them now, is the Dangerfield Platinum Draft Pick Signature, and I've been buying them for about $250 a pop. There's only 100 made, so you could pretty much wipe them out for 25 grand, and I don't think people realize how easily this could happen. I mean, certain cards in the hobby, like the Quad Sig, is selling for around 10 grand, yet you could wipe out the whole of Dangerfield's best rookie card for 25. And if this happened, the market would never be the same again. The prices would never retrace back to that $250 mark. Now, the sector of the market I do see this happening in at the moment is vintage. I feel like lots of people from other hobbies are realizing that AFL vintage cards weren't really looked favorably upon in the past, and they were going really cheap. And now the market's overcorrected, and that some of them are going for huge amounts of money. Especially, I think they're being sold to people who didn't collect these cards previously, so they don't, in their mind, they don't have a limit on what they want to spend. They look at a Gary Ablett card and say, how is that only $200? He's one of the greatest players of all time. If that was a basketball, if that was a Jordan, that'd be thousands of dollars. So they do this comparison. They say, well, that seems very cheap. Whereas people who have been in this hobby for a long time think that might be a ridiculous price because they were picking it up in dollar boxes or, for $5, $10 back in the day. So it's the same thing I've talked about previously, where people coming in have different expectations and have different limits on the amount they want to spend. And sometimes when they don't align with the collecting group at the moment, prices can see a massive shift because people just aren't expecting it. So how to react to this, I think you can't really do anything about it. I think the best thing you can do is just get the cards you want now at a decent price. Don't overpay for stuff if you have the chance not to. Personally, I've been adding to my rookie legend collection for a while now. So I've been slowly adding wherever I can get deals, not trying to pay overs too much, but that's the way I'm going about it. And I'd like to hear what you're doing as well and how you see this market evolving. So thanks a lot, and I'll see you next video. Cheers.